All right, welcome to the Aloha Friday portion of the Growthcast. My name is Tyler Devereaux, here with
Jackson Campbell.
That's your name.
That's me.
Nice to meet you, bro.
Thanks, you too.
And dude, we're here. I can't even remember what we talked about last time, but we're going to talk about something even better this time. Guarantee it.
Last time we talked about apartment syndication.
Ooh, syndication.
Yes.
What is a syndication?
Yes, that's what we talked about.
I love it. That was a great one.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, before we jump in, want to give a shout out to our Peak Partnership event. Tell them about our Peak Partnership event, bro.
Peak Partnership event's coming up. It's going to be a really special networking event. One of the things that you actually said about the event, which I thought was really cool, is that it's not a time to come be motivated, but to strengthen your foundation, which is awesome, right? Motivation is fickle. It comes and goes. But at the Peak Partnership event, we're looking to strengthen everybody's foundation, whether that be networking with other partners, trying to find people to sponsor your deals, raising capital, or if it really is just strengthening that foundation to build everything on top of. We're going to have some really high-level speakers there. We'll have Ed Milet there, which we're really excited about, and Eric Thomas, also very excited to have both of those heavy hitters there with us. And we'll also have Tyler Devereaux.
Dude, don't leave me out. Come on, bro.
I wasn't going to leave you out. We're going to have also some great speakers from the MFM side. We're going to have Tyler. I believe Ryan's going to be speaking, and Dallas is going to be speaking too. Yep. So it's going to be an awesome event with some really high-level content.
Totally.
And like I said, it's going to be an awesome opportunity for everybody to come together and strengthen that foundation that they already have.
Whatever type of partnership you're looking for, even if you're looking to place passive investments, there's no better place in the world than to come to that event to meet. You're going to meet some of the top operators in the nation.
Yeah.
To be able to place that capital.
Yeah. It's going to be an awesome event. It's going to be in Vegas. Did I even say that?
Las Vegas, Paris Hotel, April
8th and 9th.
8th and 9th.
First weekend in April. So, dude, I'm so stoked about it. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good time for sure.
Okay, what are we going to talk about today?
Awesome. Today we want to talk about sales.
Okay.
And how you define sales.
Yeah.
So let's just dive right into that.
Yeah, I'll say I freaking love this. I love this topic.
Yeah.
Man. Like a large portion of the success. Whoa.
Mike's getting your way.
I just got a little animated there with my hands and damn near knocked the mic over. But a big portion of the success that I have had has been due to the foundational skills that I've learned, sales skills that I've learned.
Yeah.
And listen, regardless of what your view of sales is, if you don't understand how to sell yourself, you will struggle to live your ultimate purpose, right? Your definite purpose.
100%.
So.
Can I just add something to sales real quick before we dive in?
Add something to anything.
Sales, when I think of sales, I think of high-level communication.
Yeah.
Right? It's just super, super high-level communication where you're communicating and helping somebody with whatever needs it is that they need.
Perfect.
So sales does have that negative sentiment around it when it's kind of thrown around in business, but it's really one of the most positive things once you really understand what sales is.
Completely agree, man. Like sales is not about convincing people of anything. I believe it's the same as you just said. It's just the opposite. It's helping people get what they're looking for. So the definition of sales, okay? Because that I don't know if you even know this, but I had this sales job in my early 20s. It became this. Honestly, it was kind of a source of embarrassment for me because I viewed sales as convincing people to buy things they didn't need.
Right.
Literally, that's how I viewed it.
I think that's how a lot of people view it.
Totally.
Yeah.
But when I started studying like the top people, I realized that the top people did not do that. The top people, it was service-based. It was like helping people. And the word sell originated from the Scandinavian word sala, which means to serve. That's what it means. Brittany's like an amazing example of this. Brittany is one of the best examples of somebody who knows how to serve. She learned that from her parents. Have you ever met her parents?
Yeah. Her parents. Yeah, great. Awesome people.
Great people. Yeah. Some of the most caring people that I've ever met. And I'll say that, through them and a whole bunch of other people in my life, I've learned that to truly serve, we have to be just extremely conscious of the needs of others.
Right. It kind of goes back to exactly what I was just saying. Sales is identifying what that person's needs are and then fulfilling it. Right. Exactly. And it's once you understand what their needs is, it's not even selling at that point. It's giving opportunity if that's what they want to help them with whatever it is that they need.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So there's an acronym that you use often when you're talking about sales, right? You've done some sales trainings in the past, so I kind of wanted to talk about that acronym of sales.
Okay.
So let's dive in. Let's break it down for us.
Okay, so the sales acronym, SALES, right? S stands for switch places. We'll get into all these details, but S, switch places. A is ask questions. L is locate likable traits. That's key. E is to embrace objections. And then S is to just throw on a smile, bro. Just chuck a smile on that face of yours.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into switch places. People will also hear me, I call it flip the focus a lot of times as well.
Yeah.
But switching places, flipping the focus is key. Like everyone has a different perspective, and the more effort that we make to view things from the perspective of others, the more valuable we are. You know, the more value that we'll be able to provide them in helping them with that perspective. Okay, so do you know that? I think it's in this example of George Clooney is in. I think it's in. Obstacle is the Way, maybe.
Okay.
Do you know this example? Dude, it's beautiful. George Clooney, some of you may know who he is. No, we're not related. God, I get that all the time, you know? People think I look exactly like him. Brad Pitt, too. God, those sons of bitches. But George Clooney, fairly successful actor. He spent the first couple years, though, getting rejected by everybody. Like first, couple years in Hollywood, rejected by everybody. He wanted the producers and directors, right, to like him, but they didn't. They didn't see the value that he had, and that hurt. I think we've probably all experienced that.
For sure.
I mean, definitely in the dating world. Just me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
You never experienced that?
Nah.
You handsome son of a bitch.
Just kidding. Of course.
But listen, everything changed for Clooney once he changed his perspective. Okay, he switched places. So what he did, he realized that instead of just looking at all of his needs and all of his concerns, he realized that casting was an obstacle for producers too. You know, they need somebody to find that for that specific role, right? So what he did is he switched places. He realized that auditions weren't, some struggle. Instead, he started to view his perspective. He started to view auditions as a chance to solve their problem, not his. And that's when everything changed. So instead of fighting for a spot, what he did is he took the time to figure out what the producers were looking for a specific role, and then he would freaking practice it, become that person, and then deliver. And obviously he, became...
It's very successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, extremely successful. You take that same approach, I've noticed, with brokers, right?
Yeah. So I take the same approach with brokers, investors, really anybody. What I did, instead of researching what I should be asking a broker, and I did research that. That is important, right? But instead, I researched what brokers were taught to look for in investors, what their frustrations were, who their ideal client was, why they chose one person over another person. Like, I actually called brokers in an area that I knew I was not going to invest in,
mm-hmm.
and I posed as a college student who was writing a thesis or whatever.
Paper?
Yeah, I obviously didn't go to college.
Yeah, neither.
Did you?
Yeah.
But a report, a paper, a thesis,
writing
whatever. And then just interviewed him, man. And I'll tell you, that was huge to me. Like by understanding how to switch places with the broker, I started to understand their perspective. Which really what that did is that helped me cater my message to meet that narrative.
Yeah.
And that same principle applies to anybody, dude. Whether that's me trying to get my kids to eat dinner, finish their dinner, right? Or talking to an investor to try to finish our raise. It applies to anybody.
Right.
The most effective way to serve is to understand somebody else's point of view. And I've never met anybody in my life that does that more than Brittany does, which is why she's so good at serving.
Why do you think that that's so useful? Why do you think that works so well?
Because it's different, man. It's different. Thinking about the wants and needs of other people is genuinely different. Think about this, especially in today's, selfie-taking, social media-based comment world. I mean, most people are focused solely on what they want, right? And as a consequence, though, they don't get what they want.
Right.
It's kind of a weird thing, right? In order to get what you want, you need to focus on getting other people what they want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's the first thing. Switching places.
Switch places.
Switching places, or like you said, another way that you phrase that is flipping the focus.
Flip the focus.
Flipping the focus. Awesome. Okay, well, next thing is A.
Asking questions.
Asking questions. What kind of questions is it that you're asking?
So asking questions is critical. I'll give you an example. Well, first off, asking questions allows us to understand that person's point of view even more, and ultimately allows us to provide value. We've mentioned a ton. Value creation is the key to wealth creation.
Right.
So, I'm on a phone call with, and it's funny though, because sometimes even though we know these principles, we forget them, right? So I'm on a phone call with a buddy of mine. He calls me who wants to talk about investing. His name's Ben Wilkie. Ben, if you're listening to this.
Shout out Ben Wilkie.
Shout out to Ben Wilkie. Stud, dude. I should talk about his story too. But in short, man, so also, Ben, sorry for effing this up yesterday. But I didn't ask questions, Ben. I just kind of dove into what we did instead of asking questions to truly understand where he was at, what his perspective was, what his knowledge in the industry was. And then what that would allow me to do is to cater things to, that message to him.
For sure.
Instead, I just started to dive in high level, then deep, and then high. And then I was like, well, shit, dude, I have no idea if this is grasping or not.
Yeah.
And then we came back and circled it back around. And then I started to ask questions. So we need to focus on our, instead of focusing on our needs, we need to focus on and ask questions about what they need. And not that I was trying to focus on my needs during that call, but I didn't know what his needs were. Like I knew he was interested in investing, but I needed to know how to deliver that message to him so he understood what we did,
So asking questions, so you're saying asking questions is also discovery.
It's
discovering what it is that they need.
It's exactly what it is. And then once we know what they need, then we can show them how we can help get it. And that's not manipulation, by the way. That is value. If we can't help them get what they need,
we tell them that.
100%. And then what do we do from there? We refer them to somebody else who can.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to start gaining respect. So, dude, Ben Wilkie is a perfect example of this example, okay? He starts his business. He helps connect high school students in Asia with colleges in the States.
Oh, wow.
And he puts on these events.
Yeah.
Well, his first event that he was scheduled to do was in Asia. I can't remember. Singapore, maybe.
Wow.
In March of 2020. And all these people sign up, ends up having to refund all their money. He could have kept all their money.
But he postponed it, yeah.
Yep, but he did not. He refunded all their money, which means he lost all his money. But do you know what's happened since then? That point of his life then he was telling me this yesterday, caused him to now look internally and how we can solve this problem at a different level. He's now figured out how to solve that problem at a different level. All those people that he took care of, and when his competitors were not refunding and taking care of those people, they trust him explicitly now. And his business is freaking thriving, which is why he's calling me to ask how we can place money.
Yeah.
His long-term perspective, dude, that's a whole other podcast in my opinion. But asking questions is key. It also allows us to maintain the power position, and do that, maintain a power position in the most polite way possible.
Why do you think that asking questions puts us in a power position?
It was a power move.
Yeah.
It's a power move because it allows us to continually play offense instead of defense, and allows you to be viewed as the prize. Like if you think about that, especially when they realize that you can solve their problem, you're the prize. If they're continually asking you questions, then what you're doing is you're reactive. You're reactive to whatever, and just kind of puts you on your heels.
Right.
By asking them questions, you're in the power position. You're proactive offense, and allows you to be more precise with the message that you're delivering.
Perfect. So. No, that's awesome. Awesome. All right, let's look at the next one, which is L.
Okay.
Locate the likable traits.
Explain
that.
Traits. Most people, the most likable people are those who like the most people. So you think of any social interaction, right? Most of the time when we're meeting somebody new, our focus, it's inward, like wondering if they like, care, or value us. But if we can just take a second to switch places, like I said in step one, we realize that once again, and see it from their perspective, we realize that they're worried about the exact same thing. So to be truly effective, we need to focus. Our focus needs to be outward, right? We need to worry about making sure that make sure that they know that we like, care, and value them, right? That's key.
What if that's not reciprocated? What if they're kind of staying on their hills? Maybe they don't want to invest or buy or whatever it is that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Does that make you vulnerable?
Well, you even look at it in any situation. You go to a party, right? And you're just focusing on other people. And does it make you vulnerable? I mean, yeah, dude. If you go in and you try to, you're just focusing on other people and you don't know if they're going to reciprocate, it might make you vulnerable. But, okay, let me ask you a question. How do you start a fire?
Slowly. I don't know. With the
obviously, Jackson's not a Boy Scout. Shit. Crying out loud.
Flint and steel, lighter, matches. I don't know. What are you looking for here?
You grab logs.
Yep.
You stack logs up.
Yep.
And then what do you do?
Light it up.
Light that shit on fire.
Pour some gas on it.
Yo, definitely put some freaking gas on it.
Make it nice and easy.
You ain't going to try to make it hard on us.
No.
That's how you start a fire. So in my opinion, only focusing outward if you know that it's going to be reciprocated is like saying to the fire, hey, listen, first you give me some heat, and then I'll throw some logs on this fire, right?
Yeah.
Ryan Woolley's a great example of this. Britt is too. Okay, watching them. Have you ever been to a networking event with Ryan?
I haven't.
Dude. Watching them as they meet new people. Brittany's the same way. Is such an eye-opener to me. Like, they're so focused on making sure that other people feel comfortable that they don't have time to feel uncomfortable. Their strategy is throw so many effing logs on the fire that there's no option but to produce heat. I always ask Britt, I'm like, because we'll meet new friends or something, and Brittany's like always just like focusing on them, man, showing interest in them, taking them some gifts, asking if she can help with their kids, or she's just like always focusing on them, and I'm like, and Britt's reaction is like, well, of course they're going to want to, like, of course they want to be my friend. I'm bitching. Like, of course they're going to want to be my friend.
Right.
I just need to let them know that I want to be their friend. And that's how I do it. So, dude, don't focus on why they might not like you. Instead, focus on why you like them. Anyway.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So that was likable traits.
Likable traits,
Finding likable traits. How do you tactically?
Oh, boy.
Tactically go about doing this.
Tactically go about doing this. Well, I'll tell you what I do. When I'm about to go meet with a broker or an investor or honestly really anybody, and I'm starting to feel like insecure about that, I will literally list out on a piece of paper or in my phone or whatever as many things as possible about why I like that person. And that sounds silly, but I've found that when I do that, it's so much easier to carry on a conversation.
Yeah.
But on the flip side too, that we have this rule, right? We have this rule that we don't talk shit on other people, negatively about other people. And, obviously we're not perfect. So if we say something, if something negative comes out about somebody else, what's the rule?
You say 3 nice things.
5.
Come
on. Well, Jackson doesn't know because he doesn't obviously say bad things about people.
Hey.
And that's legit.
Thank you.
You just don't.
I don't. I try not to, for sure.
Yeah, you just don't, man, which is awesome. But we have to write 5 things about that person that we just spoke negatively about. Because listen, the lesson that you'll find when you do that is and I learned that lesson. Have you ever read the book Think Like a Monk? Okay, Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty.
It's on the list of
great
books you've told me to read. Yeah.
That's where he gave that example, and I was like, I love it, and I immediately implemented it. Like, the lesson is that you'll learn is the far majority of people have way more that is positive about them than they do that is negative about them. That being said, though, I mean, let's be honest, dude, some people are just assholes. So if that's the case, dude, you just got to cut ties.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to speak about or do business with those types of people. Like, life's too damn short, man.
Right.
If you've thrown wood on the fire and the fire isn't burning, learn from it, set it aside, and move on to those in this world who are worthy of your time period.
For sure. Another thing that comes along with finding likable traits is it's so much easier, I've noticed, to serve people when you like them.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So like pointing out those things and really focusing in on the positive things about somebody makes it so much easier to serve and take care of and go the extra mile for them.
Yep.
So when you're and that plays a huge role in when you're selling people or trying to find investors to come into your property or whatever it is that you're doing. You have to have that.
Yeah.
You have to be able. It's gonna help in the long run too, to be able to continue to go the extra mile for them.
Yeah,
after the sale's closed.
Because, dude, what happens when you serve somebody? You love them. Like,
right.
Dude, think about Roscoe. What does Roscoe do for you?
He cuddles. He brings me joy. Yeah,
He's been helpless. Like dogs are helpless.
Yeah,
if we're being honest. Like they don't talk to you.
No,
they don't. I mean, verbally, non-verbally, maybe.
Yeah.
But your role as a human being with a dog, and why dogs are man's best friend, is because you're serving him. You love those that you serve.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling to love someone, serve them.
Yeah.
Serve them.
Dude, it's one of the things you talk about all the time too. Is when you're feeling down on maybe yourself, even the best thing to do is to look outwards to serve somebody else. Keep that ball rolling. Okay, now the next thing is embrace objections.
Yeah, E. Embrace objections.
Let's talk about that.
So first off, like when you effectively switch places, right, you're going to naturally begin to understand questions and objections that those people might have. And most people run from those things. Dude, do not run from those objections. Embrace them. Like questions, doubts, concerns, whatever you want to call them. Those are good things, man. If you think about this, like if they didn't have any interest, they wouldn't have any concerns. They would just nod their head and then end the conversation as quick as they possibly could.
Right,
you know?
Right.
Concerns only come, more objections only come when they actually have interest. So first, man, remember that. Like remember that. You know, change your perspective on that, and then understand that knowing what their objections are, or at least an idea of what they might be. And then being confident enough to just embrace them, dude, that will set you in a league of your own.
Right.
I call these response blocks. You know, my approach is I want to bring those up before they do. Once again, I call it a response block, and they're highly effective. And I'm not trying to block someone's response. I care so much about their response that I want to cover it before they even have to bring it up.
Right.
So I'll give you an example of this in the multifamily space. Okay. We have this seller's interview. And a seller's interview is, so you submit offers, they choose a couple of them, and then you actually interview, so the top offers, and then you interview with the seller, and they choose who they're going to award the deal to. So my first one, really, so the first one that I ever had, I had no idea what to expect. So we asked anybody and everybody what we could expect. You know, those people who had not only been in a seller's interview, but those who had been a seller in a seller's interview. And what that helped me do is, once again, switch places, right? Flip the focus and understand what the seller would be looking for. Helped a ton.
So what did you find?
That they were looking for?
Yeah.
Dude, on the most basic level, I would say that they're looking for three things, okay? One, are we dedicated to doing everything that we need to actually close? That's key.
Okay.
Number two, where are we sourcing the capital from that's important? Debt and equity, but I mean, primarily equity. Like, where are you raising the money from? How much money can you raise? And then number three is, will you try to retrade down the road? Retrading just means renegotiating. So are you going to try to get this thing under contract and then retrade down the road? So knowing those three things, knowing what their three biggest concerns that are on their mind, I wanted to make sure that we addressed them and that we overcame those concerns before the seller even had to bring them up.
So how did you do that? How did you go about doing that?
So
how do you resolve an objection before an objection's even there?
No, I love it. So that's where your response blocks come in.
Yeah.
So anytime you get on a seller's interview, and this is a good thing for really any active investor to understand, you're going to be asked essentially to structure an opening statement. Okay, this is what's going to happen. The broker, 99.9% of the time, broker and sellers are on there. Same with you and your team, and they're going to say, okay, hey, why don't you introduce yourselves, and then we'll introduce ourselves. Or maybe they will introduce, but you're going to have this introductory statement before you start asking questions, or they start asking questions, right? And it's a back and forth. But so I'll give you an example in coronavirus time. I knew that they might be apprehensive to see, because coronavirus, there's a lot of, like 2020, heat of 2020, there's a lot of uncertainty.
Right.
So are we going to be able to perform in this heat of uncertainty? Are our investors really interested in investing? I know that that's a concern for the broker and the seller.
Yeah.
So what do? Introductory statement. We'd say something like, first off, how we're going to structure our deal. Okay, so we structure our deals through a typical syndication model. Build a great investor base. We can take down any equity piece south of $12 million. This equity piece is $4 million. Obviously fits within there. But I'll tell you this. As good as our investor base is, before we committed to this project, before we decided to take this project down, we wanted to make sure that we had a freaking pulse on their risk appetite. So, normally that wouldn't even be a question, but obviously due to the pandemic and, these looming economic concerns, we wanted to make sure. So we reached out and, we were happy to see that the overwhelming response was very bullish, for a number of different reasons. They looked at it as this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
But also the conventional rates were down 100 basis points year over year. That's very attractive to them. and that they weren't being brought any other investments right now. So everyone else is sitting on the sidelines. We're ready to strike.
Right.
So, like that type of introductory statement, you think about what that does, okay? One, it has industry lingo, which is important. Industry lingo that someone from the industry would know. Things like, I'm trying to think of what I said, but conventional rates or
syndication even.
Syndication,
is one of those words, yeah.
Basis points, equity piece, takedown, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
It also describes an action that response blocks, a concern or a worry of theirs. Where will the capital come from? Well, I'm telling you exactly where the capital is coming from because I've reached out to take action to make sure that I know where the capital is coming from. Because guess what? That was a concern of mine. Not only Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, is that a concern of yours? That was a concern of mine. And then number 3, we've mentioned something of industry importance. Low interest rate, looming economic concerns, something like that. But here's what happens when you start to do that. As you start to response block these things, embrace objections, you'll see that their wall will start to come down as you embrace their concerns. But you're also going to see that's valuable. It's valuable because you've actually taken the time to study their concerns, to take steps to make sure that you can overcome those concerns. Because you've done that, you've removed this worry from them without them even having to awkwardly ask. Because sometimes they won't even feel comfortable asking.
Right.
But the concern's still there.
Right.
So if you know what the concern is and you address the concern, then you're going to be able to overcome it without them even having to ask.
That's awesome. That's awesome. One quick question on that: How would you go about trying to identify those concerns before you jump on a phone call with them or before you have that interaction with that individual? How do you find those? How would you identify those?
Ask questions. So all these steps lead to that, I believe. Switching places, truly, you have to take your perspective, set it aside, and truly try to see it from the other person's perspective. Ask questions. And so for example, asking questions to the broker of like, hey, man, what's the seller's major needs? What's their concerns? What are they looking for? And it might take some time to poke and prod and figure that out. But also just being very aware of what they may view as a strength or a weakness. Yeah, can I give you another example?
For sure.
And to not run from it. So for example, Summit at Landry Way, 224-unit project that we took down this summer, and we beat out Blackstone for that deal. Well, going into that deal, we knew that the seller wanted to make sure that they wrapped this up with somebody that they were confident could close the deal. It's a big deal. 224 units, 20, I can't even remember now, 27, 28 million something dollars. Yep. Like, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make sure that somebody wouldn't back out. Because when you do a call to offers and you have, you're in front of a whole bunch of different people, okay, well, we had just backed out of a deal. But, bro, I don't know if the seller knows that we backed out of a deal. We had to back out of a deal. They wouldn't extend our due diligence period. We needed to do more things. If we didn't, then the seller would be, or then our investor money would be put at risk. The seller would not extend. We had to back out.
Yeah.
We took a $50,000 haircut to do that.
Yeah.
Me and Ryan lost $50,000 to do that.
To take care of your investors, for sure.
Worth it.
100%.
No long-term perspective like 100%. We talked about.
Yep.
But I don't know, dude, if the seller is, I don't know if he knows that. But think about this. Most people would say, well, you don't want to bring the problem up if it's not even a problem, right? Don't create a problem if there's not a problem there.
Right.
But what's going to happen if that seller asks me, or let's say that he does ask me, hey, well, Tyler, you're saying you guys are so confident you can close, and why? And that you don't back out of deals, but you just backed out of a deal. Now, no matter how I answer that question, dude, I'm freaking just backpedaling.
Right. You're on the defense.
Yeah, for sure, man. No matter how you answer that, you're on the defense.
Right.
Okay, not ideal. Or maybe they don't answer it or even ask it, but they know. Well, now you lost the deal, and you don't even know why you lost the deal. Okay, you just know that you did lose the deal. Maybe it was that, maybe it wasn't. Dude, embrace the objection. So I brought it up, man. Hey, I don't even know if you know this, Mr. Seller, but we actually just backed out of a deal in your market. Once again, I don't know if you know that or not, but this is why we backed out. Logically, this is why we backed out. There was a freeze. Texas, there's a big freeze that went through. Yeah. We had to check the pipes. Our due diligence period was just about to extend. We needed to just make sure that we could get the pipes scoped so we could prepare on our end if we needed to raise any more money up front before we closed. We didn't want to back out of the deal. We just wanted to see if we needed to raise more money to account for it. And the seller wouldn't extend, which means we weren't able to do the things that we needed to do. We had to back out. His response, oh, shit, it's ridiculous. that's ridiculous. And I was like, exactly. But once again, I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that you knew the reason behind that.
But it's so much better that you addressed it up front, because imagine you guys don't address it on that call.
Yep.
He decides he does want to move forward with Multifamily Capital Partners, and then he finds out you just backed out of a deal after this conversation.
Now he's all worried.
Now he's all worried. Now he's rethinking everything from that conversation.
Yeah, and trying to nitpick everything we do.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, trust is huge, man.
Yeah. And then you gain his trust by telling him, hey, this just happened. We want you to know. That's obviously, that's gaining trust right there too.
No question.
For sure. Awesome. Thank you for sharing those. That's so valuable.
Yep.
The very last step is S, which is smile.
Smile, bro.
Yeah.
There is nothing as attractive as somebody who is enjoying what he or she is doing. Like, smiling and having fun, by the way, is synonymous with confidence and happiness.
For sure.
And that's infectious. Smiling makes it easier for other people to find joy.
Yep.
And, helping others find joy is the greatest service that you can provide. So smile, man. Don't be such a negative, crotchety asshole.
No,
can
I share an experience
Please.
from this? So a lot of people don't know this, but Tyler was one of the very first people that actually trained me in sales. I hadn't learned a ton about sales, and I got a job working with Tyler, and he was training me on how to do sales. And the one bit of advice that he gave me, obviously I was reading books and trying to teach myself, but the strongest bit of advice that Tyler gave me was to be myself.
Yep.
Because Tyler knows who I am. Tyler knows I'm a positive, happy, smiley, go-lucky kind of dude.
Yep.
And that was the biggest advice, and the biggest help that really did end up helping me in the end was that advice to just be myself. Instead of trying to do all of these other things, one of the biggest things you can do is be yourself, smile, and be honest.
Yeah.
And making sure that it all comes back to that service base, that you're there to help them with their needs and what it is that they need.
Well, bro, think about what you did when we first met. First, I had just bought these brand new Air Jordan 11 Space Jams. So sick. I was so pumped about this purchase. And I wore them to a Christmas party that Jackson happened to be at.
Yeah.
And we had never met at this point.
No. Tyler didn't come to my wedding. Tyler is my wife's cousin, and Tyler wasn't at my wedding. I'll hold it over his head till the day he dies.
Did I get you a gift?
Anyway, those Space Jams.
My bad shit. Hey, if you were to get married now, I would come.
Oh, I'm sure.
If you guys ever renew your vows,
you're there.
I'm there.
I'll make sure you get an invite.
Yeah, maybe I didn't get an invite, bro.
Maybe not, dude. That'd be on Courtney, not on me. So I'm not taking that blame.
First thing he did, dude, is he came up and he was like, and once again, he's not worried if about feeling liked, cared, or valued. He comes up and first thing he does is like, oh, bro, nice to meet you, bro. Those Space Jams. Find some commonality, right? Some way to connect. He's like, dude, those are so sick. I love those, man. Those are awesome. And immediately I'm like, oh, I like this dude. And then I watch him the rest of the night with the party, just like interacting with everybody, man, cracking jokes, having fun. Once again, just finding ways to make other people find joy.
Yeah. Thanks, dude.
Thank you, bro.
Awesome. Well, as we're wrapping up this Aloha Friday, what would be a great Hawaiian value?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I've been trying to think through of a Hawaiian value this whole time as we've been going through.
Yeah.
I got nothing off the top.
Let's do Pono, dude.
Okay. What's Pono?
Well, that's kind of in bad. That's kind of what we're talking about here. Yeah. Not being extreme on either one of the sides, but Pono. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
New to the island, I might be wrong here, but Pono is balance. Am I right?
Yeah.
Is that no? Explain a little bit better.
No, it is. It's balance and just doing. It's everything good. Doing the right things. Right. Pono. You guys agree? You guys know?
Yeah. We got Alex and Courtney. Courtney is saying she doesn't know. Alex has been here for a few years, and she's giving us the nod. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes.
Yeah, it is.
Pono is okay. Pono is balance. So, exactly.
Righteousness, balance.
Doing the right thing.
Yep.
Sales is always going to come down to, a lot of people like your very beginning thing that you talked about, sales, people think selling something to somebody that they don't need.
Yeah.
Selling them something they don't need. If that's how you want to go about sales, you'll never be successful. Mm-mm. But if you take it as more of a Pono approach or more of a service-based approach, trustworthy, trying to help them with what their needs, then your sales, whatever it is you're trying to sell or raise, or that will just exponentially do a lot better.
Bro, that was a great one to choose, man. It's awesome because, once again, you may be successful if you don't take that approach in the short term, but you're never going to be successful in the long term.
Yeah.
Pono, man, do what's right, righteousness, balance. Once again, I love it. Great choice.
Thanks
for saving me on that one, dude.
Yeah, of course, dude.
All right, hey, thank y'all for tuning in on today's Aloha Friday drip. Man, go sell some shit this weekend, okay? Sell your family on happiness, joy, whatever you need to sell. And practice the principles, man. Don't just listen and then move on. truly sit down and think, how can you apply the principles that we just talked about? SALES, S-A-L-E-S, the acronym. Go put it into work and always live with Aloha. Peace.